Well, let us move on. It is budget week and everyone, particularly inside the Beltway, gets very, very excited about it. I first want to ask you in broad terms, in the year 2023, and it's not like everyone goes out and stockpiles petrol and tobacco anymore and booze anymore, does it, during the budget? They're quite different than they used to be. Do you think it is an important budget in the electoral cycle and for New Zealand in 2023, or do we tend to over-egg budgets and their importance these days?
No, I think they are very important because they are where the government sets the scene for what it's working to achieve with the economy and with the country. And this budget will be watched very closely, particularly by international ratings agencies. So they're the agencies who determine how much we pay for our debt. And, you know, New Zealand has a lot of debt at the moment. It's risen to about 80 billion, up from less than 10. And those ratings agencies have warned that because we're running such a big balance of payments or current account deficit, that is, we're making lots less money in the world than we're making, that combination with books that are in the red and a government that has kept on talking about, we'll tighten up spending, but hasn't done that to date, that combination means they're watching closely to see, does the government have what it takes to get the books back in order, to get spending under control and to chart a path back to growth for New Zealand? So it is an important budget, and of course the decisions the government makes will impact all New Zealanders. If they spend too much, that'll put fuel on the inflation fire. If they spend in the wrong places, that's taxpayer money that could have otherwise been in the back pockets of people who really need that cash right now.
Yeah. And of course, you know, a downgrading of our credit rating would mean it costs more to service the debt that we have. That is just bad for the country all round, isn't it?
Well, that's right. I mean, the debt level starts to cost a lot more to service if we're facing a higher interest rate for it. We're already spending more paying the interest on our debt as a country than we spend on the New Zealand police. But the idea that that number gets bigger and bigger and bigger, that's a real problem for New Zealand, because each of those dollars is a dollar that could be being spent in our hospital system, could be being spent in our education system. So the government has a big job to do to keep the books in order and demonstrate that they're going to get the New Zealand economy back on track. Because by just about every measure right now, things are not going well for New Zealand. The economy shrank in the last 3 months of 2022. You've got inflation has been out of control for a couple of years now. Interest rates have climbed faster than in the entire history of the official cash rate. And you're really starting to see the pain come on for mortgage holders, many of whom are facing an interest rate double what it used to be. And across government, while we're spending a huge amount more, this government's spending $1 billion more every week, taxing $100 million more every day. A lot of people say to me, well, where are the results to show for it? We've got people on gurneys and cold hospital corridors because the wards are overflowing, the emergency waiting times are long, the kids aren't turning up for school, we've got ram raids happening. There's just not evidence that there's been effective use of taxpayers' dollars. So I think the urge for the government to be disciplined and show accountability for its spending will be very high in this budget.
Look, I'm going to ask you an unusual question because I want to get it out the way first. From the signals, from the pre-budget announcements we've heard, is there anything or spending or aspect that you actually agree with that a National Party would do as well?
Yes. Look, I think it is right for New Zealand to be increasing its spending on defence. We are living in a far less stable world, and New Zealand has to make its contribution to peace in our region and peace in the world, and we have to stump up enough that our allies look to us as a reliable partner. And I've been really struck by the situation our armed services personnel have been in. I had a soldier come up to me on Anzac Day and say, Nicola, do you realise how badly paid we are? There's a real problem. They'd had about 30% attrition in just the past 2 years.
Yeah, it's been a real issue.
So many people in our armed services were saying, look, pay just hasn't kept up. So I do commend the government for its decision to increase funding there. I think that's the right thing to do. And I'll always think it's the right thing to do to ensure that we are effectively funding health and education services. And I think it's right for the government to be increasing spending there. I think where I start to differ is the areas around where's the value across the board and what are you doing to make sure taxpayers are getting a fair deal.
There is no doubt that the bureaucracy has grown. And I'd also add that at a time